trying all day to draw some profound conclusions about living 80 years. Haven't thought of anything. Surprised I got here so fast. But I'm glad I got to spend so much time with this beautiful woman. What's your name again? And I want to thank all of you for coming all the way here from Disneyland to witness this historic event. Now that I'm out of hot air, I'm going to need a little assistance to get these candles out. Come on, everybody.
A tender moment with Katharine Hepburn and Jane Fonda celebrating the 80th birthday of Henry Fonda's character in On Golden Pond, one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing on Sneak Previews. Across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
Across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. In addition to On Golden Pond, we'll also be reviewing Four Friends, a movie about coming of age in the 1960s, and Chevy Chase and Modern Problems, a movie about coming apart in the 1980s. First, Gene starts with, whose life is it anyway?
Whose life is it anyway asks the fundamental question, should a person have the legal right to kill himself? In the movie, Richard Dreyfuss believes that he's entitled to exercise that right. He's a sculptor who suffers a terrible car accident that leaves him paralyzed from the neck down, turning him into a quadriplegic. He has no feeling or the ability to use anything below his neck. And so Dreyfuss believes that his useful and pleasurable life is over, and he tells his doctor in the hospital that he doesn't want any more medical attention.
I've sent in the Godfather.
Why are you giving my staff such a hard time?
Dr. Emerson, I must insist that you do not stick that needle in my arm.
You don't even know what's in it.
Oh. I assume that it is one of a series of measures taken to keep me alive.
That's right. You, pal, are a valuable life.
I don't think so. I've decided I don't want to stay alive.
You can't decide that.
Why not?
Because you're depressed.
Does that surprise you?
No, in time you'll learn to accept. Until then, let us help you.
Do not stick that thing in my arm. Damn you. I specifically refuse you permission to do that.
It was necessary. I want you to sleep.
I don't want to sleep. I want to think.
When you were sculpting, and things weren't coming out right, did you quit?
No, I didn't.
Well, neither do I.
Is that what I am to you? Huh? Emerson? Wait a minute. Wait a minute! Is that all I am?
His doctor isn't the only one Dreyfuss argues with. He argues with a judge who eventually hears Dreyfuss's legal argument on why the hospital should release him so he can go home and die.
Now, Mr. Harrison, the medical director and the consulting psychiatrist claim that you're not capable of making an informed, intelligent decision.
That's right. They're wrong.
What does that mean?
It means they're good doctors. And they won't let a patient die if they can help it.
Do you think you're suffering from depression?
Well, I am completely paralyzed. I think I'd be insane if I wasn't depressed.
Yeah, but wanting to die must be strong evidence that your mental state has gone far beyond simple depression.
I do not want to die.
Then what the hell is this case all about?
I am not asking anyone to kill me. I'm only asking to be discharged from this hospital.
Which will kill you.
And that's exactly my point. I'll spend the rest of my life in this hospital with everything in it geared just to keeping my brain alive. And I'll never have a possibility whatsoever of being able to direct a damn thing. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's an act of deliberate cruelty.
Wouldn't it be more cruel for society to let people die when with some effort it could save them?
No, because the cruelty is not a question of saving someone's life or letting them die. The cruelty is that the choice is removed from the person concerned. I would like to be able to decide what happens to my own body.
A man who is desperately depressed is not capable of making a reasonable choice.
Well, as you said, Your Honor, that is the question to be decided.
Dreyfuss is very good when he's serious here. I enjoyed Whose Life Is It Anyway because from time to time it did make me think about what it wanted to make me think about, of course, whether or not a person should have the right to choose to die. However, I really wondered about the casting of Richard Dreyfuss in this role. It was a smart commercial move, of course. Dreyfuss is a big star and very entertaining. But because he is such a vibrant person, I must say that I never really believed that he was completely crippled. He's so energetic most of the time, tossing off one-liners to everyone, wisecracking all over the place, that in this film he becomes, and the whole film becomes, more of an entertainment than a serious, thought-provoking movie. And yet, from time to time, in the serious moments, I was drawn back to the main issue, and it's on that basis that I can recommend Whose Life Is It Anyway?
I had to think a long time about this one, and I finally came up kind of a split decision.
Yeah, I know what you're...
I enjoyed this film. I admire Richard Dreyfuss's performance. The supporting performances are also wonderful. I like the film enough I wanted to see it twice, and yet I am not recommending it because I do not believe that it deals honestly with the question that it wants us to take seriously, which is, what should this person's future hold? I think the real question this movie is asking is, does he have the right to commit suicide?
Of course.
But instead of phrasing it in that way, they go through the whole kidney dialysis thing. He wants to be taken off of life support. Then they draw a parallel with Karen Quinlan. She had irreversible brain damage. This man has a very active brain. He has a very active mind. Then it surrounds him with all kinds of dummy psychiatrists and with really hard-headed social workers. Everything is a setup here to lead us to the conclusion that he should die. I don't believe it.
Well, the only question that I have to ask you is, because I know this is the problem you're talking about, I simply believe that from time to time, as I listen to myself reacting to the picture, I was thinking about the issue. Even now, just hearing the scene that we're talking about, the argument in front of the judge, I'm thinking about the issue. And I think Dreyfuss makes the case in that serious speech very well. My problem is when he goes lighthearted. But I must say, as I listened to that scene just now, I was thinking, yes, he does have the right. Then that's the way the movie wants us to do that.
That's interesting because I was thinking, as he made that speech, anyone who can speak so well and who can have such a fine intelligence should not want to die. He should not have the right to deprive us of his company.
Okay. But then you're really into the picture because he wants to make the case, even if you're vibrant, you still should have the choice.
Well, but on the other hand, there's another issue here. There are a lot of people in this country who are paraplegics, quadriplegic. How do they feel about this issue? I don't believe that this picture illustrates an accurate portrait of how people in this situation react to it.
Okay, and all I think is that the film wants us to think about it. Let's go on.
Okay, one of those right on the edge pictures. Our next film, Four Friends, is a movie about the period from 1960, just as a group of friends are graduating from high school in East Chicago, Indiana, all the way up to the early 1970s, after those same four friends have grown through, survived, and endured most of the key events of the tumultuous decade of the 1960s. That was the decade of Kennedy, Vietnam, hippies, drugs, Nixon, rock, and radicalism. Three of the group are young men. The fourth is a young woman. She's an uninhibited flower child that they all fall in love with at one time or another. And the movie is cluttered with a glorious profusion of detail as these four lives are entangled in their complicated times. In this scene, the charismatic young woman, she's played by Jodie Thalen, has just married one of her three male friends. And that comes as a real surprise to Craig Wasson, who plays the most important love of her life. He arrives just as they're leaving the church.
Quizbo kid comes to kiss the bride.
What happened?
I got married.
No, the,
Oh, I scratched it. Very stylish, don't you think? Minister couldn't take his eyes off it. Thought you'd come to kiss her sulk. Whoa.
Louis? Sure, I'd like you to meet my good buddy Louis Carnahan.
Hi.
Georgia, Tom.
Hi.
David?
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Rudy.
Thanks for coming. Yes, I've heard about all of you. I hope that you and Tom will be very happy.
I hope so, too. What about David and me?
Yes, of course. It's just that the custom calls for the bride and groom. I think I better shut up. David? She asked me, and...
I'm going to have a baby.
Well, congratulations. It's Tom's baby. I better shut up again.
What the hell's going on?
I didn't want to get married.
I did. I love ceremonies. I can't wait to have my baby. Isadora Duncan had babies, and it made her dance that much better. It did. It made her flower.
What about me?
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flower.
Why didn't you tell me?
You had your chance.
Well, so did you. So did you. You had your chance, too. You're gonna dance, huh? You're not gonna dance! You're not gonna do anything! You're gonna spend the rest of your life right here in East Chicago, Isadora Duncan.
He couldn't be more wrong. That's the last thing she's going to do. She's headed out for Greenwich Village and the other youth meccas of the 1960s. Craig Wasson, meanwhile, has adventures of his own. He goes to college, he marries into a wealthy family, and in this scene, he sends his Yugoslavian immigrant parents on a sea voyage back to visit their homeland. The feelings exchanged between the father and the son here create one of the best moments in this film.
I sure would like to see you happy just once.
You are a very strange person, son.
Not really. I think most kids want to see their parents happy. But I don't think that's going to happen anymore. We're both getting older, and we're both disappointed in each other. Are we just going to keep this up?
What is it you are suggesting?
I don't know. I've never even seen you smile.
When you were born, I smiled.
Well, I guess I wasn't paying attention. That slipped by me.
When you were born, I took off my hat and I beat on the table with it. And I'm almost sure I was smiling.
That looks good on you, Papa.
He's been waiting a long time to see that smile. That scene symbolizes a lot of the emotion that went into the making of Four Friends. The movie is largely autobiographical. It was written by Steve Tesich, himself the son of Yugoslavian immigrants. And in Four Friends, he sends his characters on a 10-year voyage of discovery through American society. There are a lot of scenes in this movie that will bring back memories for survivors of the 1960s. How long has it been since you've heard this list? Flower power, love beads, crash pads, tuning in, turning on, dropping out, acid trips, draft card burnings, happenings. They're all in this movie. Movies about those times and how the 1960s atmosphere of social upheaval made it seem for a while as if America's young people were citizens of a separate nation, how that sense of separation prevented them from finding life roles that had fit. Four Friends is an enormously ambitious movie. It's filled with life and memory, and I recommend it, and it's gotten some very bad reviews.
Yes,
already.
I think a lot of people think it's sloppy and pretentious, or has scenes that say you want to say ouch to because it's too sentimental. I think there are a couple of scenes like that, but I think that what the film does achieve is quite remarkable. I have rarely seen a film that spanned the rhythm of a life, or at least a good chunk of a life, 10 years, a person's growth from about 17 or so to 27, those tumultuous years. And I'm always amazed that in a 2.5-hour or 2-hour picture that you can duplicate that kind of rhythm of a life. And I was impressed by that. The other stuff, that disappointment of the immigrant father with the son, the inability to communicate, the old man seeming lost, lots of things running through this picture. I thought it was very good.
I thought, too, another thing about this film that was so nice was the way it was able to be honest and frank with the excesses of young people. And some middle-aged critics, and I guess I'm middle-aged myself, are saying, oh, well, 3 teenagers would never walk through the streets of an American city playing their band instruments by moonlight.
Right.
I've done it. I've seen kids do it. When you're 17, you do things like that. When you're 40, maybe you forget or you think, well, nobody would do that. This movie isn't serious. It's too filled with heartwarming drama, things like that. I don't believe it. I believe this film.
I believed it, too. And, you know, I get kidded a lot about saying how much I care about the characters. Do I care? This is a film of character. It's a film of life. And, yes, each and every one of these people struck me, particularly the young man played by Craig Wasson. Well, first of all, moving on to our next film, I must say that I was looking forward to it. On Golden Pond is the film because, of course, it is being billed as the first film starring both Henry Fonda and his daughter, Jane. He plays an old, crotchety father, and Jane Fonda plays the daughter he never got along with. That's what I thought this movie was going to be about, but I was wrong. On Golden Pond is much more about the anger people experience when they grow old, and of one old person, Henry Fonda's character, finding a way to come to grips with that anger. That's why the performance that I like so much in this film belonged to Katharine Hepburn as Fonda's gentle wife. She calms him down in this scene, which occurs after Fonda has gotten lost in the forest outside of their New England summer cottage. He's terrified because his mind is slipping. He should know the forest very well.
You want to know why I came back so fast? I got the end of our lane. I couldn't remember where the old town road was. One little way in the woods, there was nothing familiar, not one damn tree. Scared me half to death. That's why I came running back here to you. See your pretty face. I could feel safe. I was still me.
Safe, you old poop. And you're definitely still you. Picking on poor old Charlie. After lunch, after we've gobbled up all those silly strawberries, we'll take ourselves to the old town road. We've been there 1,000 times, darling. 1,000. And you'll remember it all. Listen to me, mister. You're my knight in shining armor. Don't you forget it. You're going to get back on that horse. And I'm going to be right behind you, holding on tight. And away we're going to go, go, go.
I don't like horses.
An excellent scene, and Hepburn is excellent in another scene where she tries to calm down Jane Fonda, who has been harboring resentment and anger because her father has never tried to be her friend.
Mother, do you know? I've been answering to Norman all my life. Makes me so mad even when I'm 3,000 miles away. And I don't even see him. I'm still answering to him. Norman is a poop.
Oh, for the Lord's sake, here we go again. You had a miserable childhood. Father was overbearing. Your mother ignored you. What else is new? Chelsea, you have a great big chip on your shoulder, which is very unattractive. It is. It is. You stay away for years at a time. You never come home unless I beg you to, and then when you do, all you can do is be disagreeable about the past. What's the point? Don't you think that everyone looks back on their childhood with a certain amount of bitterness and regret about something? It doesn't have to ruin your life, darling. You're a big girl now. Aren't you tired of it all? Boa, boa, boa. Life marches by, Chels. I suggest you get on with it.
Throughout On Golden Pond, I found myself being drawn to Katharine Hepburn's face. I was drawn to the experience of life that I saw in that face, to its serenity, and I think that I learned more about how to handle old age from merely watching Hepburn in this movie than from any of the film's dialogue. She's the reason, I think, to see On Golden Pond, because frankly, I was disappointed that there weren't more scenes between Jane and Henry Fonda in the picture, and that could have turned this good film into an excellent one.
I'd say it was an excellent film.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't mention more about Henry Fonda's performance. This is one of the very best performances that this great actor has ever given in any movie that I've seen. And he starts out, he's so cold, and he has so much fear and so much distance between himself and the others, and through the course of the movie, he's able to break that down, and he allows us to see his fear of aging, his fear of bad health, of senility, of dying. It's very moving.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, of course, though, that there's been so much publicity about him because of his health, also with his autobiography. I felt I sort of knew a lot about this film even before I saw it. I think many people may share that. So as I said in the review, I was just trying to be honest, that I was surprised by Hepburn. She hasn't been mentioned at all in connection with this film, and I found her remarkable. She, in fact, during the course of the film, teaches her husband, played by Henry Fonda, about how to accommodate oneself to the natural anger, and I thought that was refreshing.
Those things are so good, I'm surprised you think it's only just a good film.
Here's an example. They bring in a child in the film. It turns out that Jane Fonda is going out with another guy who has this child. They bring him in, and there's a whole development with Henry Fonda and this kid, and he is the nice parent to this little boy that he never was to Jane Fonda. Well, I didn't need the little kid. I wanted more Henry and Jane Fonda.
I agree with that. One other thing I'd say, it's great of Katharine Hepburn. She's playing a character in this film who, at the age of the character, has the pluck and grit to go swimming in this cold pond and also to get involved in an adventurous situation. And she, as an actress, has the grit and pluck to get into that water and to do it. I thought that was terrific.
I admired that, too.
We move on now from a movie that seemed, to me anyway, like a small miracle, to a movie that seems slapped together out of second thoughts, half-baked comic ideas, and misunderstood characters. The movie's called Modern Problems. Stars Chevy Chase as an air traffic controller who develops the power of telekinesis. That's the ability to move objects by using the power just of your mind. And in this scene, his wife is breaking a date with him on the telephone, and Chase gets so distraught that the air traffic controller causes an airplane crash.
Hello, Darcy Carson.
I've been waiting for your call all day. What's going on?
I was going to call you when I got off work.
Well, I just got off. I'll pick you up right away, and we can go eat.
Max, you're going to kill me. Barry's ballet opens tonight, and Stolichnaya is dancing. I already promised him I'd go.
What?
I'm going out with Barry tonight.
Are you kidding? Barry the Bleeder? You really are involved with that guy, aren't you? Just like I thought.
Max, you know he's an old friend, and I've needed his company these last few days. Tonight he needs me.
You liar. You knew last night you were going out with him, didn't you?
Max, last night was very promising. Please don't blow it.
You never did love me, did you, Darcy?
Before long, things are flying around every room Chevy Chase is in.
Now, we can do this easy, or we can do it rough. These is knuckles you is looking at.
Well, you don't see that every day, but then again, who wants to? It doesn't make the movie funny. Modern Problems is a film that seems to have been made without having been written first. Comic situations aren't thought out or explored. Characters behave in ways that are supposed to be funny, but they simply aren't funny characters. Chevy Chase doesn't grow and change and suffer comically after he develops his strange power. He just floats through situations like a cut-rate nightclub magician. Modern Problem suffers from comedy's oldest problem, which is it's not funny.
I agree, and I think you put your finger on the problem with it, which is the writing. This film starts off in one direction. It's going to be a catalog of all the problems that a guy can suffer, broke up relationships, nuclear energy, all this stuff. And then it swings into special effects, parroting Carrie and The Exorcist. It seems like there's been a couple of rewrites of the script here, and I don't think any of them have worked. I don't know what this film wanted to be, but it sure isn't any one thing.
You're right. They should have started out and said, here's Chevy Chase, here's his situation, here's what happens, instead of, here are various studies for a movie on the subject of telekinesis.
We want revenge. That would have been the most obvious thing.
Sure.
Revenge. And he has a special power, now let's knock heck out of everybody. Never happens.
Well, here's everybody's favorite Norwich Terrier, Sparky the Wonder Dog. That means it's time for the week's worst movies, the dogs of the week.
Our little guy. My dog this week is a grotesque horror film called The Children. It's a disgusting cross between the China Syndrome and that laughable thriller called The Hand. There's a nuclear waste accident in a New England town. A bus full of school children are contaminated. They get some black gook on their fingernails, and they're turned into little monsters, walking through the town, reaching out with both hands and melting anybody they can grab. A favorite scene repeated over and over has one of the little tykes spotting his or her parent, calling out, "Mommy, Mommy," embracing their mother and then turning her face into hamburger meat. What's worse is the big payoff of the film occurs when the townspeople discover the only way they can stop these kids, get this, is to chop their hands off.
I don't believe it.
We repeatedly see some grown-ups take out a sword and cut the kids' hands off. I saw it, and I couldn't believe it either.
Unbelievable. My dog this week is Jack the Ripper, a German thriller that wants us to think it's a British thriller, but this movie is not British, and it's not a thriller either. The streets of London in this film look pretty obviously as if they were found in Germany, and the English dubbing sounds as if it were phoned in from the bottom of an elevator shaft. The movie stars the great German actor Klaus Kinski. You may remember him as Aguirre the Wrath of God or Nosferatu, but you won't remember him as Jack the Ripper. Kinski's Jack the Ripper is a medical doctor who treats poor patients for free and then prowls suspiciously Germanic-looking back alleys looking to slice the throats of prostitutes. A corny Freudian flashback reveals that his mother was a prostitute. You know, one of those flashbacks where multiple exposures of a woman's face swim in and out of focus while she laughs maniacally on the soundtrack and everybody goes out for popcorn.
I think you were in that line. So much for the dogs. Let's recap our reactions to the main movies on the show, beginning with Whose Life Is It Anyway? With Richard Dreyfuss. Roger found the film entertaining but thought it failed to deal adequately with its most important issue. I disagree, but only a little. I did find myself drawn to the right to die subject matter. I vote yes, Roger votes no. We both admired Arthur Penn's Four Friends, a poignant and sentimental study of young people coming of age in the 60s. 2 yes votes for that. And we also liked On Golden Pond, Roger a little bit more than I, with Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn in A Portrait of Old Age. And we agree again on Chevy Chase in Modern Problems, a dismal comedy that can't make up its mind whether it wants to be social satire or a special effects movie parody. 2 strong no votes for that.
So the yes votes for Four Friends, On Golden Pond, and kind of halfway with Whose Life Is It?
All the way with me on Whose Life.
That's all for this week. Join us next time on Sneak Previews when Gene and I are going to show you some buried treasures, films we really enjoy but that most movie audiences missed. Movies like Bye Bye Brazil, which follows a traveling carnival, Gates of Heaven, a documentary about pet cemeteries, and The Onion Field, a drama about our legal system. Join us for buried treasures next time on Sneak Previews, and until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Funding for Sneak Previews was provided by this station and by other public television stations.